Planning, senators, members of the committees, and representatives, honorable members of the House of Representatives here present, Honorable Minister for Budget and Economic Planning, Honorable Minister of State Petroleum, Honorable Minister of State Petroleum Gas, heads of agencies, NNPC, Customs, and others here present. I thank you for this opportunity to, as we begin discussion of this all-important aspect of our economic management, of our democracy, discussing the medium-term expenditure framework, and of course the fiscal strategy paper of the federal government. Let me start by trying to give us a broader context. We have DG Budget and his team that have worked so hard and that will give us the specifics of the different figures, metrics and indices. And indeed, the chairman, House Committee of Finance, has done a yeoman's job of even breaking down the key aspects of the proposed 2025 budget within the context of the medium-term expenditure framework. But it is important to say that under His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigeria has changed fundamentally. His Excellency took over in very difficult economic circumstances, as we know. Key decisions had to be taken to reset this economy on a macroeconomic path that was not just sustainable in terms of fiscal spending, but that would engender the investment by Nigerians, by foreign companies that decide to come and take advantage of the Nigerian opportunity, so that productivity would increase, so that the economy would grow, jobs would be created, and poverty reduced. And we all know the difficulties that have come along with the early implementation of key reforms, but there have been successes. Just today, the National Bureau of Statistics, led by the Statistician General, announced that GDP growth in the third quarter was 3.46. Let's say, for the sake of round numbers, 3.5%. That is above the rate of population growth. That means GDP per capita is increasing, is improving. So things are going to that extent in the right direction. And it is important, but we also have to be clear with ourselves. Inflation is still high and elevated, and everybody, particularly the poor and the most vulnerable, feel it. And that's why interventions are being made particularly for them. But let me just summarize the change by saying that in Nigeria, for the first time in 4 decades, we have market pricing of petroleum products, helped, of course, by local refining of crude, which is producing not just PMS or diesel or Jet A1, but is producing raw materials for industry, is producing raw materials for agriculture. In addition, we have market pricing of foreign exchange, and of course the two are related. For the first time in about 40 years, no Nigerian can wake up and think that his way to fortune and the quickest path he can take to getting rich is by getting an allocation of foreign exchange from CBN. Likewise, no Nigerian can wake up and feel that his quickest path to riches is to look for a subsidized allocation from NNPC, which he can now profit from. So the incentives for Nigerians now are to add value in agriculture, in manufacturing, and in exporting. And it is against that backdrop that today we are examining in detail the budget for 2025 and a medium-term economic framework. And it is important to emphasize that even as we are having these successes at the macroeconomic level, that there is difficulty, and we do need to be careful, and we do need to stay the course. When we looked at the figure, one of the biggest figures that was read out by the Senate Committee on Finance Chairman was debt servicing. A huge figure, 12 or so trillion debt servicing. And that's because in June 2023, the key interest rate, one-year Treasury bill, was 8.3%. Today, it's 24.3%. So when you have a tripling of interest rates, and of course you have deficit financing, that is where care needs to be taken. And that is where the fiscal tightness, the limited ability to spend at all levels, to intervene, to help social services, education, health, and so forth. And what used to happen before, even when interest rates were low, the debts were not being serviced. We were living on ways and means. We were not paying our way. Promises were not being kept. That has changed. So by the time you have market pricing of petroleum products, market pricing of foreign exchange, that sends all the right signals to investors. And then as well, we have the discipline, the financial discipline to pay our debt, to pay our way, to pay what we owe. You have the basis of an economy that can grow, a society that can develop, and people that can be proud of what they are doing and what they stand for. Your Excellencies, distinguished senators, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. No clapping.
No clapping. No clapping, please. No clapping. This is the Senate. We are in the chamber of the Senate. There is no